calls later on in the show. I want to talk about this injury to Tua Tagovailoa. I want to talk about, now Mack Jones being the quarterback and the number 2 team, and get your thoughts on if you feel Alabama can make the playoffs. I want to talk about all that. But first, I really want to offer up prayers to Tua Tagovailoa. I think that's the right thing to do. Everything that he's done for this program and everything that he represents. I mean, he's done a great job being an ambassador for the University of Alabama, and really disappointed about, the way things went down for him, and really upset because I think it's just, it's a monumental blow to the program. But overall, I mean, you're talking about an injury that could be life-changing for a person, a person with great character, and, prayers up. He's going to be flown to Houston tonight, actually. I actually have that update. Let me bring that to you now. And here's an update that was issued from Alabama. This is a statement from Tua Tagovailoa from Dr. Lyle Kane. For the last 24 hours, our medical team has consulted with multiple orthopedic experts across the country who specialize in hip injuries and surgeries. Based on that research, Tua is being flown to Houston tonight to be evaluated and scheduled to have hip surgery Monday. As previously stated, we anticipate full recovery. The main focus has been and will remain on Tua, his family, and making sure we are providing the best medical care possible. That's from Lyle Kane. And, it's big news. It shook up the college football world, and be curious to see what happens moving forward with Alabama. And this is really the first time that this team has faced adversity on the offensive side of the football. And you can catch my article on BamaInsider.com. I spoke about what it means for this program. And I know at the beginning of the season, this program faced a lot of defensive adversity, losing Dylan Moses, who's really the equivalent to Tua, just on the defensive side of the football, being their inside linebacker, their signal caller. He didn't even get to play this season, right? ACL, and then you had Joshua McMillan, which has forced Alabama to play 2 freshmen at the inside linebacker position. For the most part, the most adversity the offense has had this season is, rock, paper, scissors. Who's going to catch the touchdown, right? And now this offense is without their signal caller, without their team leader, team captain, someone, who has led them to a national championship last year, who won a national championship for this team as a freshman. And, a guy that's thrown for over 7,000 yards and over 85 touchdowns, including all those injuries that he's had. And I know it's, he's going to have a strong legacy here at Alabama, but I think along with that legacy is also going to be the fact that he is prone to injury. I mean, you look at the long list of injuries that he had, and, that's going to be something that is tagged on to Tagovailoa moving forward. So what now? What now for the Alabama Crimson Tide? Well, I think the easy answer to that is Mack Jones. Mack Jones is the quarterback who has to step up, and we've seen Mack Jones this season. Let me get you some stats on Mack Jones. Throughout this season, he's played in 8 games, and where we really saw Mack Jones was against Arkansas. He was 18 for 22, started that game for then injured Tua Tagovailoa, had injured his ankle. 18 of 22, 81% in that game, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, that was a really incredible performance. I mean, look at that. To the far right, 216 efficiency rating, which is, something that Tua was doing during the season. So he's played a lot. He's 45 of 65 on the season. He's only thrown 1 interception. He's thrown 4 touchdowns. He's been sacked just 2 times, and his efficiency rating is 159.61 throughout the season, which is pretty good. And I think you're also going to see, now that the number 2 quarterback is Tua Tagovailoa, right? I mean, Talia is 7-9 on the season, 65 yards. He hasn't thrown a touchdown yet, but we saw some splashes of him against Arkansas. So 7-9 of the year. And I think what I like about Tua Tagovailoa is the fact that he can extend plays and, provide that extra splash that defenses might not be ready for, just because I think he's a gamer. And I think he's going to be a guy who can really turn heads when he gets on the football field. So I know it's a big loss. I want to get your calls, and I'm going to open up the phone lines now and get your take on this whole situation. And let me open up those lines right now. And I know there's a lot of people calling in, so if you can't call in, just, you can leave a voicemail, or you can keep trying to call in, and I'll get your phone call as soon as I can. 205-686-3604 is the number to call in tonight. I'm wearing my lei from Mitch in Hawaii. He actually gave this to me last year. And, it's a big blow, and I'm kind of curious to see what happens when the college football playoff rankings are released this Tuesday. Alabama is now number 5 in the AP and coaches poll, but the college football playoff rankings are really the only ones that matter. And Alabama was number 5 in the latest college football rankings. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, what's up? My name is Jarvis. I'm calling in from Texas.
Hey, what's up, Jarvis? How you doing tonight, man? How was your Sunday?
It was great, man. Long time listener, long time Bama fan, and first of all, I got to start off by saying, prayers up for Tua. I mean, that was just so crazy how everything was, going well for us. If he came out when he did, that wouldn't have happened. But just wanted to say prayer for Tua first of all.
Definitely, man. Yeah, I think his family certainly need all the prayers that they can get. And as I mentioned, our thoughts and prayers are certainly with him. So what's up, man? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, with that aside as well, I do think we still have a good chance of making the playoffs on the football side of things. I know even with the, Georgia win, I think if Texas A&M can beat Georgia this weekend, that'll pretty much eliminate them regardless of the SEC championship game. And I think if Mack Jones can dominate Auburn on the road somehow, winning by 2 scores or more, I think that'll really, do well in the eyes of the committee.
Yeah, I think when you look at the college football playoff rankings, I think it's pretty simple for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think LSU has to continue to win out. I mean, they sure allow a lot of yards and a lot of points. I mean, you see what Ole Miss did last night? I mean, they had 614 yards against LSU. So it's really a game of all offense for LSU. And I think the number 2 team and could potentially be number 1 could be Ohio State. Maybe they're playing the most complete football in the entire country. So those 2 teams certainly at 1 or 2. And then the number 3 spot, you got to go with Clemson and what they've been doing for the last several weeks now. I think they've won 26 games in a row or something like that. Number 4, you got Georgia. But as you just said, if Georgia survived last night in Auburn, you never know what Gus Malzahn is going to do. And then I think it's going to come down between Alabama, Oregon, and Oklahoma. I went to bed well before that Oklahoma game was over, and I knew Oklahoma would come back and win that game. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's Baylor. It's a Big 12. But I'm not going to let go of the fact that Alabama, if they are able to take care of Auburn in Auburn, I'm not going to forget that Alabama would beat Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and then Auburn has beaten Oregon head-to-head at a neutral site stadium. I just don't think you can forget about that fact. And with that being said, I think, Alabama still has a shot.
Yeah, no, I mean, you definitely made some great points there. And I think people, lose sight of Mack Jones a little bit. Like Tua is a huge star. But just looking at Mack himself, I think with given with time to prepare and mentally he knows this is his team, I think this will really galvanize the team going forward, to finish the season well for Tua.
Yeah, I think the thing about Mack Jones is he has the team's confidence, and the team really rallies around him. And I think this team is we're really about to find out, was this a one-man team or is this a team? I mean, you look at the offense. There's so many playmakers on this team. Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. And then the way that Najee Harris has been playing, excuse me, maybe this is the time of the Najee Harris takeover, right? I mean, what he's done over the last several weeks has been nothing short of exceptional. He's playing as the best college football running back. And, maybe it's the time where, Mack Jones can come out, do his thing, but this is Najee's time to really shine during the later part of the college football season.
No, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, to that point, this is really a good time for Steve Sarkisian to, show how well he can adapt the game plan, how much of it was Tua and how much was him. Najee Harris has really erupted in the run game. So get back to that run game, give our defense some time to rest and get off the field. And like you said, it's just Matt getting the ball to our playmakers. We have guys that can, play talent all over the field. So all he has to do is get the ball to it. So I think we're in good hands going forward.
All right, Jarvis, I want to show real quick. I'm going to bring this up on the screen while we're talking. And I want to highlight something. I think this is really important to highlight. Now, going up against Mississippi State has a very dangerous running back. Now, I know he didn't play the entire game, Kylan Hill, but I mean, this young man was leading the SEC in rushing. He only had 16 carries, 35 yards. I think that's gigantic for this defense. I think that builds a lot of confidence. Now, Tommy Stevens, our quarterback, obviously he almost ran for the 100-yard mark, but the defense allowed just 270 yards. And if you look at Alabama's overall season statistics, I mean, they're not allowing a ton of points on the season. And I think the defense could be finding their groove at just the right time. Now, they still got to prove that against Auburn, but I think the Alabama defense is going to be able to stop Bo Nix. I don't think that Bo Nix is going to be successful against Alabama. I know last night he had a very solid night going to Seth Williams, who is actually out of this area in Tuscaloosa. But I think Alabama, I mean, you got to go into that game thinking that the Crimson Tide certainly have an edge. I think the only thing that is could be going for Auburn is the fact that they just have a very strong defensive line and the fact that it's at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, great points there. And, in a game like that, I mean, getting the crowd out of the game early is going to be key. I mean, you have to open up with the run game, especially. I would attack the perimeter, against Auburn. They have a big defensive line. I would not attack them up the middle. I would use speed sweeps and, slants and quick screens to get the ball outside to our guys and make them run the field. And I think with that, the run game, a little play action mixed in, and could try to get the crowd out early. I mean, I think that could bode well for us in an environment like that as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you're probably going to see in this, over these next two weeks is that side sweep. And you're going to start to see real, a ton of production from Jalen Waddle. He's a guy that only gets, 10 to 15 touches per game, but I think that needs to be ramped up. Imagine if you start distributing the football to Najee Harris, to Jalen Waddle, more in some sort of a package. I mean, those guys are electric with the football in hand. And then I think Mack Jones is certainly capable enough to get the football to these receivers. We've seen it done in the past. The only question mark that I have, and this isn't knocking on the kid, we just haven't seen Mack Jones go up against quality competition because Alabama doesn't choose who they pick, right? The players don't pick who they're scheduling, right? That's above their head. But I think we're about to find out, can Mack Jones win a game on the road? And that's a lot of pressure. That's going to be a lot of pressure for him. But I like the way he handles himself. I like the way he conducted his press conference after that Arkansas game. He said, look, we came out and just wanted to have fun, did my job. And I think the team has enough confidence within him that he can go out and he can continue to lead Alabama to victories. I mean, this is a team who's only lost one game by 5 points. I know it's a monumental blow losing to Tagovailoa. This is a huge loss, best player in college football in a lot of people's opinion. But this team has a lot of first-round draft picks still, a lot of talent. There's still plenty of football to play. Don't sleep on Mack Jones in Alabama just yet.
No, I'm very well said, Kyle. And, I just want to make one more point. I know you have some more people trying to get through. The one thing that's kind of going back a little bit that gets me upset every time I see it was the missed face mask call on the Jalen Waddle punt return against LSU. I mean, that was huge. I mean, even attacking that on to the kickoff, I mean, that could have changed the complexion of the game. So I just can't believe that they missed that blatant of a face mask. He almost got his head taken off, and nothing was called. So, I mean, I just had to kind of get that off my chest. But, I mean, I love the show, Kyle. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to see what Mack Jones does in a tune-up this week against Western Carolina. But I think with the right confidence and motivation, all we have to do is get the ball to our playmakers, and I think we'll be fine.
All right. Appreciate you calling in, Jarvis. Sincerely, please call again, and I appreciate the support, man.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
Take it easy, buddy. All right. Very good call in to start the show. Jarvis needs to hit leadoff more often. Call line is open. 205-686-3604 is the number to call in. Want to get your take on Alabama right now. What's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Thanks for calling in. Who I'm on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Yeah, it's Edward from San Diego, California.
Hey, what's up, Edward? Edward, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, has the clearest connection. These should be your connection goals when you call in, right? Edward, I mean, this is crisp. Edward, there's a lot to go over. Let me first ask you a question before we dive into it. Alabama is up 35-7. There's 3 minutes remaining before halftime. Mack Jones is warming up on the sideline. Looks like he's going to come in. It looks like there's some sort of conversation between Tua and Nick Saban to come back into the game. He comes back into the game. Then this terrible injury happens. Should Saban have taken Tua Tagovailoa out of the game, in your opinion, with the score 35-7?
I strongly feel that he should have, yes, because the main reason is because he wasn't 100%. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I strongly feel that way. I just wanted to, first of all, say that our prayers with Tua, I feel so bad for him. but I think he's a special talent and a special player. I don't think there'll ever be a quarterback like him at Alabama ever again. And just to kind of share with everyone, how special he is, he has as many 400-yard passing games this season, 3 as all other quarterbacks in Bama history. Mm-hmm. And I think that, it's very unfortunate what happened to him, but I really feel like the team's got to try to rally and do the best that they can. And I understand it's kind of there's a lot of variables involved. I mean, a lot of people are saying that Bama needed to win big because, they needed to try to impress the playoff committee. But I feel like he probably shouldn't even have played in the game due to the fact that we probably didn't need him to win that game. Mm-hmm. And the main thing is we needed him to be healthy for the Auburn game. What's your feeling on that?
Well, you know what? I did a podcast yesterday, and at first, my first reaction was that he shouldn't have been playing at that point with Alabama up 35-7. And then I really took time to think about all the situation and read through the comments. And I think now that I've had more time to digest, I think looking at it, I mean, Tua is a competitor. He wants to be out there. Mm-hmm. He wants to play. And anyone who has played athletics knows that there's nothing better than game day, right? That camaraderie mm-hmm. that you share with your friends. I mean, how much more time does Tua have with Alabama, right? I mean, going to that point. So he wants to be out there with his brothers. I get it. I think from a medical standpoint, I mean, I just don't see Saban putting his players in jeopardy if they're not able to play. I mean, this kid played an entire 4 quarters against LSU. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I mean, with that said, you're up 35-7. I think what would have happened, and hindsight is always 20/20, as you know, right?
Sure.
I think what would have happened is if Alabama goes into the lead or goes into the halftime break, we wouldn't have seen him again, and you would have seen Mack Jones come out and finish off that game. Like Nick Saban said, I mean, he was visibly shaken. I mean, this is going to be something that Nick Saban has to think about for the rest of his life. I mean, this is that big of an injury. I mean, granted, a dislocated hip, surgery on a hip. I mean, you've seen the videos out there on the surgeons talking about this type of injury. This is going to be something that, could affect him for the rest of his life. They're saying fully recover. Absolutely. They're not saying fully recover to play football. We don't know that. And, hopefully and great, and thankfully we live in a time and age where the medicine is so good that these kids can hopefully get back on track. But, it was a freak injury. I mean, even a surgeon said that this is the type of injury they see on car wrecks. I mean, it's a tough situation. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to question Nick Saban on that. But up 35-7, I can see why a lot of people feel that he should have been yanked with Alabama up by 28 points.
Yeah, and they were saying that Tua talked himself in, talked Saban into letting him come in on that last drive. But one thing that I think that no one's really talking about, on that play that Tua got hurt, I was watching it closely, and Alex Leatherwood hardly even touched the guy. Like, in terms of, like, you got to protect your quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. And he did, it was very, I guess you could say it almost seemed like Alex Leatherwood gave like a 20% effort on that block. And, I mean, to me, it's just uncalled for when you have a quarterback like, Tua to, not protect them the way they should have. But I want to bring up about Saban, a comment about Saban, because I know he took a lot of heat after last week's game against LSU. A lot of people felt like we were outcoached in that game, so on and so forth, that he shouldn't have called for a passing play when Tua threw that interception just before the half, because that was huge. Yeah. But I just want to let people know out there, Saban is proved, in my opinion, he's hands down the best coach ever. I mean, before he came to Alabama in 2007, they hadn't won a championship in 17 years. Mm. And in the last 10 years, they've won 5 championships under Saban. Yeah. So I feel like he's taken a lot of heat, especially for playing. So, and my whole thinking on that is, they probably could have took Tua out. But if Tua is a gamer and says, hey, I want to play, can you give me one more drive, 2-minute drill, and that's your best quarterback, I mean, it's kind of hard to say no to that. But when I had called last week, I spoke with you, I mentioned why I thought that Alabama could get in. And I was also going over a couple of things. And one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about Auburn, and I wanted to get your feedback on this, is yes, Auburn does have the 3 losses, but they played a really tough schedule. They played Oregon, they've played Florida, they've played LSU, they've played Georgia, and then they're going to play Alabama the last game of the season. So I still feel that if Alabama goes to Auburn and wins that game by at least 10 points, I definitely think that Alabama will get in if Georgia loses to LSU in the SEC championship. What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Alabama certainly they have to beat Western Carolina, and then they have to go and beat Auburn. And I know a lot of people are out there continue to say, well, they have to beat them by 10 points, they have to beat them by 14 points, so and so. They just have to beat Auburn. I don't care if it's by 3 points, because the card that Nick Saban has to play is the fact that, hey, we went to Jordan-Hare, we beat Auburn, just as you had said, with one of the toughest schedules in college football, with one of the best defenses in college football. I mean, Georgia only beat them 21-14 last night, right? We beat them at Jordan-Hare Stadium with our backup quarterback. You guys, you know, everyone in college football already wrote us off. We beat Auburn in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And remember, I'm going to say this 100 times tonight. Remember, who did Auburn beat in week 1? They beat Oregon, who is the Pac-12 champ. Now, a lot of that could change because Utah has a tremendous defense. I mean, what they did to UCLA last night was, I mean, I have Utah on my fantasy football team. They had 28 points. I mean, there was defensive touchdowns all over the field. So, I mean, it could potentially be Utah. And then, you know, what's Utah's key win? I mean, who knows? I mean, that'll be up to the committee. But I think we all know that Alabama still has a stake in the college football playoffs. Now, they only have one win currently over a top 25 team, and that was against Texas A&M. So their schedule of strength is weak. They're not a conference champion. They didn't even play a conference championship game, but they only lost to LSU by 5 points. So they're hanging on to that loss, and they have to take care of business against Auburn. Still a lot left, and I'm curious to see, and I think we're going to all find out on Tuesday, how much stock the committee puts on the fact that Tua Tagovailoa is no longer the quarterback of this team come Tuesday night.
Correct. I agree with you. And the reason why, Kyle, that I said that I think it's important that we win by at least 10 against Auburn is because I think the playoff committee would look at this, because on the 31st, when Auburn beat Oregon 27-21, and then LSU on October 26th, they had beat Auburn only by 3 points, 23-20. And then Georgia just beat Auburn by 7. So I think, like I said, if we can win that game by double digits, I think the playoff committee, I'm not saying that we wouldn't get in if we win by 3 or 7 points, but I think that the playoff committee will have to look at it and say, man, Bama won with the backup quarterback by 10, 14, 17 points. I think that's huge. And there is another point, too, that I want to make. I think if there was ever a team that could possibly pull this off, it's Alabama for a couple reasons. One, because I think Nick Saban's the best coach ever. And two, I think Steve Sarkisian, offensive play calling, we have the players to be able to do the slants, throw the ball over the middle for 5-10 yards, let them run. And I think Najee Harris has been so huge the last 5 or 6 games. We can just use him more to run the ball and throw him the ball out of the backfield. So we all know that this isn't Alabama's top defense. I mean, obviously, but a lot of that has to do with the key injuries. I mean, if you were to take other teams and take out, your top linebacker, Mosley, and then another linebacker, McMillan, and then, LeBron Ray goes down. And then that's going to mess up the chemistry and so on and so forth. So I really, really feel like, Tua going down, it hurts, but on the other end of the spectrum, this gives other people an opportunity to step up and see what they can do. And one thing we all know about Nick Saban teams, they will not give up. They showed that in the second half in the LSU game down by 20.
Absolutely. So, great points.
So I really feel that way. And then the last thing I want to bring up, I think it's important too, is I hear a lot of people saying, well, LSU, Alabama hasn't really played nobody. Their schedule is weak and this and that. But when you look at Oregon's schedule and you look at Utah's schedule, they're way worse than Alabama.
They are.
And like, for example, with Oregon, on 10-19, they barely beat Washington, who was unranked, 35-31.
Yeah.
The very next week on 10-26, October 26th, Oregon barely beat Washington State 37-25, and they weren't ranked.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with Utah. They barely beat Washington on November 2nd, 33-28. So that's what I'm saying. I think that, and a lot of people are saying, well, there's the playoff committee has a bias towards the SEC. That's why there was 3 teams in the top 5 or whatever it is, or 4 teams in the top 5. It's because the SEC clearly is the best conference.
Yeah.
Even if someone doesn't know much about football, if you just look at the stats and watch the games, the SEC has the best conference, hands down.
Yeah.
Clemson don't play anybody. Clemson's conference championship is a joke. So, I mean, I really feel like, and I think you would feel similar based on what I've heard you say, but if Tua was in there, we feel like they definitely are clearly one of the top 4 teams. Now we don't know too much about Mack Jones, so we hope he steps up. But I really feel like we still have a chance, based on everything,
Yeah, no, I agree. Good calling, Edward. I appreciate you calling him in. Good stuff as usual.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Appreciate all you do, Kyle. We're going to stay positive, and our prayers are with Tua and his family. And, it's unfortunate that people want to give Nick Saban a hard time and blame it on him. But at the end of the day, people have to remember one thing. Nick Saban does care about his players. He's brung 5 championships to Alabama in the last 10 years when they hadn't won a championship in 17 years. And Alabama has the most players since he's been at Alabama in the NFL, most players that are starting in the NFL more than any other college team. And a lot of the players have said that Nick Saban has not only made him a better player, they've made him a better person. And I think that's important.
Definitely. Good points.
So appreciate all you do, Kyle. I'll listen in for the rest of the show. You're awesome, and roll tide, and we're not going to give up, man. We're going to hang in there.
All right. Take it easy, Edward. Good calling.
All right.
Great points. And I think, calling line is open 205-686-3604. Great points. I think, since I've covered Alabama, I've seen 3 national championships, a Sugar Bowl. I've seen an Orange Bowl. It's unbelievable. I know Alabama fans, this is normal to you, but it's not normal. What Nick Saban does at Alabama is not normal. And yeah, there's going to be questionable calls. There's going to be things that you don't agree with, but Alabama is still an incredible program and still has an incredible amount of talent to where they can make a run at this thing. I know a lot relies on Mack Jones, so we're going to figure that out here in a couple of weeks. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson, who I'm on the line with, and who are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Merrick Lawson. I'm coming from Indiana.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? How's your Sunday?
I'm good. How are you, man?
Good,
Pretty
man.
good, man, other than Tua and everything.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have a theory kind of about this whole thing. Like, I know, like, it sucks that Tua's gotten hurt, but here's, like, a problem, I think. Tua has, like, kept getting hurt and kind of looks bad on our training staff, you know what I mean, and on the team. So with that being said, do you think that, like, has anything with Talia maybe thinking about transferring or anything like that?
I don't think so. Nick Saban has referred to some of these injuries as freak injuries. This injury that happened yesterday was such a violent injury. How many times do you hear about a player, having hip surgery? This is something that is extremely rare. Same thing with his finger. Remember when he had surgery on his finger? It was kind of like a freak injury the way it happened.
Yeah.
The ankle thing, that who knows, but he had the tightrope, and obviously they said that was going to make his ankles better. I think the training staff, they've done the best job with these guys. So a lot of these guys, though, they have these foot injuries. It's something to think about, but
right,
I think going forward, when you look at the quarterback position going forward, this is something to think about. Who's going to be the quarterback next year? Everyone's been wanting to talk about who's going to be the quarterback next. Well, the quarterback next is Mack Jones. Mack Jones is only a redshirt sophomore, and Nick Saban has said plenty of times that he's way ahead of the other guys. So let's fast forward to spring of next year, right? You're going to have Mack Jones, who's going to be a redshirt junior. Then you're going to have Tua Tagovailoa, who's going to be a sophomore. You have Paul Tyson, who's a third quarterback. And then the fourth quarterback coming in is going to be Bryce Young. And, everybody knows about Bryce Young, right? He accounted for 8 touchdowns. So you're going to have 4 quarterbacks. How many guys can play quarterback? 1, right?
Only 1, yeah.
So who's going to be the quarterback? Is it going to be Mack Jones? And that's where I think a situation could arise to where if Nick Saban, who's a very loyal coach, goes with Mack Jones to start spring and into the 2020 season, I don't think Talia is a guy who's going to want to sit on the bench. And the reason I say that is because there's been interviews where Tua said if he didn't start, he was going to transfer. Remember? That's
Yep.
documentation that said him and his family were about to transfer before he came back to, eventually earn the starting spot. So I could see Talia certainly playing that card if he doesn't start. And I think Bryce Young is going to come in, and I don't think he has the mindset of coming into redshirt. I think he wants to start.
Right. So my opinion on that, I was actually thinking about that today, is I think what's going to happen is we're going to have another Jalen Hurts situation. Yeah. So Mack Jones will come in. He'll have probably a pretty good spring. First game of the year, he's not playing great first half. Put in Bryce Jones, and I feel like, and as Alabama, Steve Sarkisian, he needs a dual threat quarterback. Yep. Mack Jones is not he's not a mobile quarterback. We need a mobile quarterback. Like with how the game is being played now, like you have to be able to run, like with our new offense, you have to run the option and all these new plays. Like it's just not the same offense we used to have, which is QB that can throw, isn't really fast, and then a really good running back. Like to prove that, like we have to have a good quarterback that can be mobile and throw now.
Yeah, I think, and I would agree with that. I think in today's college football, you have to have a quarterback who can extend plays, who can be mobile when needed. And I think even with Joe Burrow, I mean, look how athletic he is. I mean, Alabama had such a tough time. They brought so much pressure from the outside, but he would run right up the middle of the field. I mean, he was a lot more athletic than I thought he was going to be. So you look at the guys in the room. Now you have Talia and Bryce Young. I think those guys could have a great quarterback battle. And I mean, Definitely. A lot of people are really excited about Bryce Young from the tape that I've seen from the film. I mean, man, he can certainly spin it. I think Talia's going to get an opportunity this Saturday. He's the number 2 quarterback. They got to get him reps. And I think Mack Jones is going to have his job opportunity on November 30th when Alabama takes on Auburn. I think they're going to be like, look, you want this quarterback position? Go get it against the Auburn Tigers. Put the Tigers away.
Yep, and I feel like if we lose that game, like it'll destroy Mack Jones' chances.
Oh yeah,
he has to win that game.
Can you imagine? I mean, if he loses that game and Alabama doesn't make the playoffs, everyone's going to talk about, hey, he didn't win the big game. He's a great guy. People like him. He's very likable. He did a good job against teams that Alabama was supposed to put away, but he didn't win the big game. And he didn't win the big game with all the talent on the offensive side of the ball. Come on, let's face it. This team has so much talent from the offensive line, the way Najee Harris is playing, the wide receivers. I mean, you're coming in as a quarterback, get the football to your playmakers, and that's it. I mean, this is his, if he wants a job, this is certainly time to earn the job.
Yeah. So I will say another thing is about this whole season is this, like, as an Alabama fan, has been the weirdest season. Like, our schedule has not been, like, anything compared to our schedule before, like, years before. Like, I don't know. I feel like next year we're going to have to beef up our schedule and I feel like our defense, too, needs to be a lot better next year. And with the recruits they've already got, I mean, they're really trying to get our defense to be at that level that it used to be.
Yeah, I think, the schedule has been, well, first of all, the game of college football has completely changed, right? I mean, it's all about points. I mean, we saw that.
Right,
and that's been changing for the last several years. You're not going to have these defenses that only allow 10 points per game. I mean, that's just not the world that we live in anymore. And a lot has to do with it because the offense is scoring at such a fast pace. I mean, we saw that last year. Alabama was scoring in drives of 2 minutes. And, hey, your defense has to go on the field. But the schedule this year has been so boring. I mean, it's been sleeper after sleeper, and I don't think that's done anything for this team. Now, next year, when we look
it's made it look worse.
Yeah, and next year you look at the schedule and it's a little bit more interesting, right? Because you open up with USC on the road. That game will be in Dallas, Texas, and I think Georgia is week 3. So you're going to have 2 really big games with a new quarterback to open the season. Then you have Georgia coming into Bryant-Denny Stadium. But I agree. The schedule has been sleepy, and the schedule could come back to bite them because the schedule of strength is terrible for Alabama. So they have to win this last game if they certainly want a chance to get the playoffs.
Yep. Auburn is definitely our key, though. Like, I was thinking, like, I just forgot. Like, they literally have played both teams that are in the hunt behind us, which Oregon and then Georgia's in front of us. But it's just, they're definitely our key. So, and I think what will happen, though, is we're either going to come out, play for Tua, and just destroy them at home at Auburn, or we're going to come out as a team that is just, they're just tired, injuries have just plagued us all season. And, I think the first option is going to happen, definitely. But the second one, I think, is I don't think it'll be a close game. I think it'll either us smash them or we just look tired and that we want the season to be over.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is what it comes down to right now is what is this team going to do faced with major adversity, right? This is major adversity, and Nick Saban has 2 weeks to prepare this team. And we're about to see where this team wants to go for the rest of the season. Do they want to go to the Sugar Bowl? Do they want to, exit out and start going to the NFL? Or do they want to try to, get to the playoffs?
Right.
I don't know. We're about to find out because this is some big adversity. But I appreciate you calling in. Please call again next time. Was this your first time calling in?
Yeah, man. I actually found your thing today because I was trying to look for, some stuff about Tua, and then I found the video of Najee Harris getting mad at interviewers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Najee's about to have an explosive end of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that.
200-yard game coming up, maybe at Jordan Hare, right?
Yes.
Right. Well, thanks for calling in, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All right, take it easy. Call line is open. 205-686-3604. Yeah, Najee is the level that he's playing at. I mean, the way that he's been demonstrating himself in the interviews. I mean, he's a man about business, right? I think he's ready for that 200-yard game. I think he's a back that can carry the football 25 times, 30 times if needed, right? I mean, Mike, what's going on, buddy? This is Mike in Kentucky. How you doing tonight? How was your Sunday?
It's been okay, Kyle. How you been?
Doing all right, man. Just trying to process all this. I mean, it's the biggest news we've had this season. There's a lot that to talk about. And I mean, it's number one, it sucks too. I mean, he's just such a great kid and such a terrible injury for anybody.
Yeah, you hate to see that happen to anybody, Kyle. Especially such a kid with such a strong faith. And the kid can literally do anything on a football field. I think the way I see it, I've seen a lot of talking heads on TV and in the media, trying to put the blame on Nick Saban. And I just don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. He's just reluctant to throw the ball away. And, he got hurt the same way against Tennessee. If he throws that ball away a little bit quicker, mm-hmm. Those guys pump the brakes and he's still healthy. I mean, I just don't think it's fair to put the blame on Nick Saban. I really don't. I mean, he's such a fierce competitor. He just, I don't know.
No,
what can you say?
This is right on target right here. So, this is actually a tweet from Patrick Surtain Sr. Okay, and he reads like this. Man, just wanted to say to give my take on Tua injury. For those of you blaming Nick, shut the hell up. Tua is a transcendent talent, an exceptional young man, but Bama is a program. Y'all acting like it's over. They will rally behind Mack and play old Bama ball. So, yeah, I think, a lot of people are certainly – it's almost like people are 50-50 with this. It's like a lot of people are calling, this on Nick. A lot of people are, saying that, it is what it is. I mean, it's something worth debating. But the more I've had time to process it, I think, I'm kind of on the side to where, look, I think it comes down to the conversation that Tua and Nick had, right? Tua's feeling it. If he's in a rhythm and he really wants to go and he wants to get that 2 minute in and put one more touchdown on, then, I mean, everybody knows the risks of football. It's a violent game.
Yeah, you can't play scared.
You can't play
scared. Even be thinking about getting hurt.
As soon as you think about you're getting injured, you're getting injured. What happened to Tua was a freak injury that could have happened, that very well could have happened to Mack Jones, right? I mean, the way that he came out and those two defenders fell on him, man, it was such a terrible injury. And to watch that whole scene, it was, I just feel for the family, and it was just such a terrible ending to Tua's career at Alabama, right? Let me ask you this. Let me ask everyone in the comment box this, okay? Because I was thinking about this. Do you think Tua is gone from Alabama, considering the severity of the injury? Do you think there's a possibility that he comes back, red shirts next year, and then is the quarterback of Alabama for the 2021 season? Is that just too far-fetched, or do you think that's even a possibility?
Man, I'll tell you,
because this is a bad injury. This injury could take. I mean, there's videos online that say it could take 6 to 8 months for him to even start coming back.
Yeah, it's from what I've been picking up. the severity of his injury is worse than Bo Jackson's.
Oh, geez.
But, it's 30 years down the road. They can do a lot more medically nowadays than they could when Bo Jackson got hurt. But, I mean, the ball of his hip joint got pushed through the back of the socket.
Yeah.
That just doesn't sound good at all.
Oh, no.
I think it's a long shot for him to ever play another down of football for Alabama. I have to be real. The main thing is I hope he gets the best surgeon that Alabama can buy, and I hope they can bring, I hope he can return to at least a quality of life that allows him to be, I don't know, dude. I mean, it just doesn't look good. I don't have a good feeling about it, but, I hate to be negative.
Yeah.
I wish him the best. I wish him the best, but that's a crazy injury. Let me
ask you this, Mike, and let me ask everyone in the comment boxes as well. All right, listen up. If you're an NFL GM, if you're an NFL scout, do you still take Tua Tagovailoa within the first 20 picks of the 2020 NFL draft?
No, I can't do it. I mean, it's a business. Football's a business when you reach the pros. And it's an investment, and I couldn't do it. He's just not sound enough healthy to risk tens of millions of dollars on. I mean, it's just the way I see it.
Yeah.
Football's a business, and the pros. And
I mean, think about all the money, there's a lot of money on the table, and he's lost a lot of money yesterday, right? I mean, stuff to think about. I'm sure there's some sort of insurance policy. I don't know. I mean,
I saw Tua's tweet. He said God has a plan. So I think, if he's okay with it, if that's the way he feels about it, then that's the way, I think he's okay. I think he's going to be fine. He just trusts in his faith.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it'll work out how it works out. And I think Tua will be fine either way,
Yeah.
I don't think his life's going to hinge on being a pro football quarterback. I think he's a deeper person than that.
Hey, and that's fine. We need more people like that. We need more people like that.
Right, exactly.
I mean, but never say never.
Exactly.
That's the other thing. Never say never. And
but
we've seen these stories come out where these players suffer these terrible injuries and then make a rebound, and it takes a lot of time for them to come back. But I don't know. I mean, the surgery on the hip. I mean, man, injuries to the hip are terrible, and I'm just, it really bums me out that he suffered that injury. I mean, I just can't get over it, I mean, it's just something you don't
I can't either. My thoughts are with Tua, but just the way the media seemed to just get on Saban. I mean, the worst comment I heard was Paul Feinbaum. He was talking, Saban was trying to run the score up. It's a beauty pageant, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've never seen Nick Saban run a score up on anybody.
Yeah.
I've never seen him do that. That was the most far left field comment I've heard about it. It just made me mad to even hear somebody accuse Nick Saban of doing that, because he's always thinking of his players. He plays guys for next year when the score gets completely out of hand. It just didn't make any sense to me at all. He tried to make Nick Saban out to be a shallow person, and I just offended him.
All right, Mike. Well, I got to run to the next call, but thank you so much for calling in as usual. All right, take it easy, buddy.
All right, you have a good night.
All right, Mike in Kentucky, always a good caller. Calling line is open, 205-686-3604. Oh, man, you think about Tua's future in the NFL. I mean, is there a future in the NFL? I don't know. I mean, calling line is open, 205-686-3604. What do you think is going to happen in the college football playoff rankings come Tuesday night? I want to get your comments in the comment box. Hey, what's going on? It's Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
David from Lynette.
I'm sorry, where are you calling in from, David?
Lynette.
Hey, okay. How you doing, buddy? How was your Sunday?
It was all right, pretty good.
All right, man. You're on the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, it just been a rough year. I used to listen to all the folks used to blame, like, on the defensive linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
And only thing I had a problem with that, them guys were true freshmen. What about them guys that got recruited before them? Evidently, them guys wasn't good enough, or they would have been out there.
Yep.
So some of them guys been there 2, 3, even 4 years. And, you know, I don't know what your opinion is. Did it like Tua threw that ball a little late to you yesterday when he got hurt? I thought he well outside the pocket to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, he was flushed out of the pocket, and it looked like he could have thrown the football away. And, I mean, obviously he didn't because, you know, he got taken down. But, yeah, I kind of thought that he could have got rid of the football a little bit earlier. And then to get to your earlier point, I mean, about the defensive side, yeah, you make a good point. I mean, you have two freshmen starting on the defensive side, Shane Lee and Christian Harris. But, I mean, we saw a lot of Markel Benton against LSU. He didn't play a snap against Mississippi State. And what's going on with Ali Cajo, right? I mean, he transferred here, and he only plays special teams. And then, of course, the guys ahead of him, Dylan Moses and Joshua McMillan, those guys are both injured. And then the guy above them was Mack Wilson, who's now playing for the Cleveland Browns. So, I mean, clearly it says to me that the defensive coordinator doesn't have confidence in Cajo and Markel Benton to continue to jump Harris and Lee.
I don't really like Pete Golden because I look at his resume and I ain't really known him to be that good of a play caller, in my opinion. You know, because we've been up to this spread option and the offense from 2008 when Nick Saban 2007 we first got there, we played Texas Tech and everybody. So he started getting, you know, smaller linebackers and stuff to be on the outside. So this isn't nothing new. These guys just got to get their head in the game and play team ball. Them guys be out there on defense. Everybody play a man like hot potato. Like, no, you get him. You know, that bites us in the butt. You know, we don't have no lead on defense, whether the linebackers or the secondary, really no leader.
Yeah,
and I just hope the guys that coming in are able to get back to the bases and understand if your man run with him. You know, turn your head, look for the ball. But it's all the team sport. Ain't no one person for the blame. Everybody, offense or defense. I just think on offense, we need to start back, get a little more of the game, just play, keep the ball from everybody else.
And maybe this
on the other side.
Yeah, and I think that could be and then it'll be interesting to see if that is the game plan, right? It'll be interesting to see if Najee Harris are like, all right, 25 carries, 30 carries against Auburn, and let's grind it out and let's beat these guys on the ground, old-fashioned Alabama football style, right? I think
some of it, you know, just keep it a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, and time of possession certainly matters. You got to win the time of possession game. And going back to the defensive side, I don't know if you guys saw, there was in the first series of this game, Mississippi State's running back went on a wheel route, and Shane Lee was chasing him.
Yeah,
and that would have been a touchdown. If the quarterback would have seen him, that would have been a touchdown all day long.
Yeah,
he can't cover, right? So you need to figure out what's going on when you know, you're facing teams that can really execute to the running back, because Shane Lee is not the guy you want in open space. This team has been terrible at tackling. As you know, they missed 25 tackles against LSU. That comes on the defensive coordinator.
And why he put Terrell Lewis standing up, his best damage is when he's down. You got him backing up in pass protection, pass defense. Let that man wreak havoc. That's just my opinion. And I was just glad to get this call in, Kyle.
All right. Well, I appreciate you calling in. Please call again.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I mean, unleash Terrell Lewis. All right. I mean, that's got to be the weekly theme for the defense. 205-686-3604. I was going to ask you guys about the playoffs. Do you think that the committee will hold it against Alabama, the fact that Tua's not on this team? Do you think that's the right thing to do? Because it's the playoff committee's responsibility to put the 4 best teams into the college football playoffs. Not the 4 most deserving. It's the 4 best teams. What's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, it's Robert from Mobile.
Hey, what's up, Robert? How was your Sunday?
Oh, pretty good.
That's good. Good to hear from you. I appreciate you calling in. What's on your mind?
Yeah, it should be the 4 best teams, but with this committee, that I'm not sure they're going to go that route. I see them taking they got a chance to keep Alabama out, and they're going to try to take advantage of it. You know, because everybody's tired of Alabama being in the playoffs, and they want to run the risk of Alabama making it to the national championship again, which Alabama could still do. So listen to your previous caller, and talking about the offense and how we've been playing offense. The name of the game is to score, and score as many points as you can. The defense isn't playing bad because the offense is scoring too quickly. It's been driving me crazy all season hearing people listen to people say that. The defense is playing bad because it's not as good as we're accustomed to. The missed tackles have nothing to do with the offense scoring too quickly. Mm-hmm. And like the play you just mentioned, where the guy's flying wide open, that has nothing to do with the offense scoring too quickly. It's keep the ball. I mean, LSU defense is far worse than Alabama's, mm-hmm. but they're still winning games mm-hmm. because they're outscoring teams. And it's a little tired of hearing about people say that. What do you want an offense to do? Not score. The opportunity to score is there. What offense doesn't take advantage of an opportunity to score when it's there? And a lot of our quick scores have been, our wide receivers taking 10-yard slant routes to the house. Mm-hmm. So it's not that the offense is. Well, I mean, what do you want them to do? I don't understand what people want them to do. Fall down and don't score.
Yeah, so I get your point. I think maybe what some of these callers or some of these people who are talking about this are talking about is maybe a little bit more balance. And I get your point. It's like, how do you want to balance when you have, Devontae Smith just taking it to the house every time he catches the football, right? I think it comes down to the defense. I think it just comes down to the fact that Alabama just doesn't have good players on the defensive side of the football as good as they've had in the past. I mean, let's just call it what it is, right? I mean, I'm not going to bash on the kids, but I don't think Shaheem Carter, I think he's a vulnerability in the secondary. Same with Jared Maiden. Jordan Battle's only a freshman. Shane Lee's only a freshman. Christian Harris is only a freshman. DJ Dell's only a freshman. Justin Ebogbe's a freshman. Brian Young's a freshman. I mean, these guys will be good moving forward. But, I mean, they have zero experience, and they're coming in with a new defensive coordinator. It's like, I mean, what do people expect?
Yeah, what always makes me wonder why these some of the one of the knocks against Alabama and Nick Saban is where you won't play as a freshman, and he's been doing you a favor all these years, not playing you as a freshman. What you do as a freshman means nothing. It literally doesn't. Yeah. You can ball out as a freshman all you want to, but if you suck your sophomore and junior year, guess what happens to you in the NFL? You don't go. Yeah. But you had a great freshman year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, I wish they could think like that, but of course getting an 18-year-old think like that is impossible. They want to get the field the minute they get out there and play. And, you're not ready yet. Yeah. But if you wait, I can get you ready when it really means something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, they just don't think that way. But, yeah, you're right. Right now, the defensive talent just has not been there. It's, what they were like number 12 overall with scoring. Mm-hmm. We're used to being 1, 2, or 3. And this year we really need to be 1. Well, 12 could work if they would give you the key stops when you needed them and against an elite offense like LSU. And that's what hurt us in that game. We had the turnovers at the first half. Great. That's fine and dandy. But look at what Oklahoma yesterday did. They were playing the same way Alabama did. The difference is in the second half, their defense stepped up and got them the stops they needed for their offense to come back. Our defense in the second half against LSU just couldn't get the key stop. It slowed LSU down, but they didn't. We never got the 3 and outs that we needed to do. I think we really needed 2 3 and outs, and they would never get them. They would always give LSU a first down, which runs clock, which uses time, and that's what Alabama did. The team ran out of time. If we got just 2 3 and outs out of our defense in that second half, they could have still won the game. Of course, you can say if we don't turn the ball over. But we had quarterbacks turn the ball over in the past, and we used to survive that. But this year, our offense almost has to be perfect against an elite offense. Because our defense, right now, can't get us the stops that we need when we need them. Maybe in the playoffs, they may do it if we can make the playoffs.
Yeah,
right now we're not
I don't
getting
know.
it.
I mean, two drives that I keep going back to with this defense. I mean, were the last two drives against LSU when LSU went right down the field in 75 yards in two different times and put points on the board. I mean, if you can't stop LSU, who has one of the most electric football offenses in college football right now, you're not going to win a playoff game. You're not going to win the college football championship. And I want to ask you this, Robert. I mean, if it comes down to it, I mean, you saw that Oklahoma game last night. I knew they were going to win. Oklahoma now has, a couple marquee wins. I know
Texas is not a marquee.
but I agree with you. But the way that the committees, I'm talking from like a committee standpoint, their victories in the committee's eyes, this is how it reads. Number 10, they beat number 10 Baylor 34-31, and they beat number 11 Texas 34-27. Now, this team could also be a Big 12 champ if it comes down to a Big 12 champ and Oklahoma is 10, 11, 12, 12-1. Is this team going to get in over Alabama? Are they a better team overall than Alabama? Are they a better team than Oregon or Utah?
Alabama or Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. Is this Oklahoma team going to shoot into the playoffs of the number 4 spot?
I do believe they're better than Utah and Oregon. I do believe I believe on a neutral site they would beat them. Mm-hmm. No, none of them will beat Alabama. The only team that can beat Alabama is probably Ohio State and LSU. I ain't bet no Clemson being able to beat Alabama. But even without Tua, the way Trevor Lawrence is playing, although he's playing better now.
Yeah,
but
he's playing a little bit better.
But of course, without Tua, he probably does have a chance because he can't run up the score. But we'll see what Mack Jones does. He may be able to, because you have to. It's your chance to show now if you're going to be the guy next year. You're right about Tua with the injury. I know that NFL money is calling, but would it benefit you to play another season to show that because the injury prone reputation is out there now. It is there. You are injury prone. Do you want to show that you're not, and that you can survive a season without getting hurt? Because right now, the number one overall quarterback is gone. It's going to be Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow's going to win the Heisman, and he's going to be the first quarterback pick.
Mm-hmm.
It's how low does to a draft stock drop after this? So and you could get it back up if you play another season, but of course that's money you don't get, so it's different. So it's a real dilemma for him, and like you said, it'll take several months for him to heal from this.
Yeah.
The NFL, what the hell to do with that?
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what happens. I mean, after this coming season, what happens with Tua? Number one, he's got to get healthy. And by the time he gets healthy, is he going to be healthy enough? I mean, I know the reports keep saying that he's going to make a full recovery. Does that mean like full recovery as in walk and have a normal life? Or does that mean like full recovery to where he's going to be able to play football again? That's what I want to know. Can he play? And maybe that's too early to tell. I mean, we have no idea. I mean, we're talking about hip surgery here. Anybody who's had hip surgery or is dealing with hip injuries, they know that those aren't just, something that you just recover from normally.
CJ Mosley had a even worse looking one than Tua.
Yeah,
and he recovered from it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so, and that's on the positive side. Yeah, great point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, buddy. Good talking with you.
All right. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it. Great point by Robert there with CJ Mosley. Hopefully it works out for Tua. I mean, I know everyone's praying for his recovery, and rightfully so. I mean, it would just be a travesty if we never see him again on the football field. I mean, just an exceptional quarterback and one guy that will leave a lasting legacy at the University of Alabama. 205-686-3604 is the number to call in. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Kyle's Q, man.
Hey, what's up, Q? Speak up. I can barely hear you, buddy.
So what?
Q, are you there?
You can hear me?
I can't really hear you, man. Give it another try.
Hello?
Q, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Q. This is Q from Brooklyn. What's up, Q? How you been, man?
Hey, man. It sounds like everybody tanking for Tua again, man. Why everybody tanking? We got to play for Tua. He went down, yes, we understand. We send our blessings and prayers to Tua. and his family. But we gotta play hard. We gotta win. We gotta make sure we get into the top 4. And Mack Jones could possibly get us to the top 4. All you gotta do is get the ball to our receivers. We got 5-star receivers all around.
Mm-hmm.
We got to continue to score. I mean, the defense, yes, they got to get better. I don't even like Terrell Lewis standing up, blitzing from the middle. It's obvious that he's coming. He can't play coverage. Get him off the field at that time. Get in your down package. Take him off. He's not that type of linebacker. But defense is going to show up. We got 2 weeks to Auburn. We'll be Auburn away for sure.
What do you think? What do you think, Q? And I mean, it's been a short sample size, but what do you think about Mack Jones leading Alabama past not only Western Carolina, which I think they could do with any quarterback, but against Auburn here in a couple weeks?
None. He's the quarterback right now, and it's guaranteed that he's going to start.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's going to start against Auburn, but he's going to start next week for sure. He's a starting quarterback. As long as he gets the ball out to our 5-star receivers, and we just got to move the ball. He did it once. He led us to a win without Tua. Why can't he do it again? Why can't we just build our trust into Mac and make sure he leads as a leader? Next man up. That's the mentality we always had. So why now should we act like we're taking for Tua when we should be playing for Tua? We have to play for him. We have to win. We got to get to the top. Because if we lose and we do not make it to the top 4 and we play a bowl game, the hype for Tua will and the noise in the media will stop focusing on Alabama. So we got to make sure we continue the storyline of how we as Alabama got better and how Tua is getting better as well.
Now, Q, I've been asking people, I want to get your take. I mean, hindsight's always 20/20, but what was your take when the game is 35-7? Would you have pulled Tua, or do you like the fact that he remained in the game? And I mean, what's your take on that?
I heard Nick Saban say it's 2 minutes, but we saw Mack Jones warm up. Whenever has we sent somebody to go warm up as a quarterback and they don't go in? That's my take on it.
Yeah.
What was the purpose? I don't care about no 2 minutes. Look who we playing is Mississippi State. You know we always get injuries when we play Mississippi State. Check the records. Every year we play Mississippi State, a key player gets injured. It's facts.
Hey, Q, I'm kind of having a tough time, man, but why don't you end it out? I'm going to move on. I'm sorry to cut you off, man, but end it the way you do and then call it another time. I think it's just your connection, man. No hard feelings, but end it the way you do, man.
You already know it's Q from Brooklyn. God bless America. God bless Alabama football. God bless Tua right now. And make sure we win.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you calling in. All right. I know it just wasn't a clear call, Q. Nothing personal, man. I always appreciate how you break it down. Good schematic standpoint. So calling line is open, 205-686-3604. It's a calling line. Alabama taking on Western Carolina this week. The schedule for this week is Nick Saban on Monday, and then you get practice highlights Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. What's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson, who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, this is Ty from Pittsburgh.
Hey, what's up, Ty? How you doing, man? Thanks for calling in. Is it your first time calling in?
Yeah, first time, man. I'm a long-time Alabama fan. Used to live in Alabama, but now in Pittsburgh.
All right, yeah, good. Appreciate you calling in. There's a lot to obviously go over. Where would you like to start? Tua Tagovailoa, possibly?
Yeah, I got a couple of things I want to run down to you. First of all, about the Paul Feinbaum comments. Now, I like Paul Feinbaum a whole lot. I watch his show almost every day, but he's a talking media head. And it just seems to me, part of his popularity is because of Nick Saban in Alabama. So any chance he gets, he will always go the opposite way on Nick Saban if possible, because there's no way you can blame Nick Saban for Tua Tagovailoa's injury. But Paul Feinbaum takes it. He takes that angle because, number one, he'll have people doing counterpoint on it. So I think he's an Alabama fan, but I also think that he plays the angles that's best for him and for his show for the most part. And one of the things I have, Kyle, about the bone to pick about Alabama's schedule and watching Alabama football for so long, you look at the schedule this year. Now, I get sick of people talking about how weak other teams' schedules are, especially because of the Southeastern Conference. They play these same schedules every year for the most part, give or take 1 or 2 games. For example, yearly Alabama plays Arkansas. They play Tennessee. Now, Tennessee under Phillips Wilmer and coaches before him, they were always a strong team. So it's not Alabama's fault that they just happen to fall in 2019 where these teams are weak. And people talk about strength of schedule like, okay, these teams make their own schedules, and they know when these teams are going to be weak enough to make their schedules. Now,
Right.
Green Puffs, I understand that. I understand about the Western Carolinas and the other teams, but Auburn's playing Sanford this weekend.
Sure.
And that happens every year with every team. They those are the money games they play. You know, so for people to even like harp on about weak schedules, I think that's just a media sell on trying to get the marquee teams into the playoffs. And I just think that people need to get off of that, because even Nick Saban said several times he would like to play a Power 5 schedule all year, Power 5 teams. And then we see what happens then. But they always blame it like Nick Saban setting up a weak schedule. That's not the truth. That's not the case. All college teams play the same schedules. I mean, Georgia in the East right now. They're the top team in the East right now. But there have been years when they weren't. LSU, it took them 8 years to beat Alabama. So they kind of are catching a wave this year. Who knows when they may go back to being the same old LSU they've been for the past 8 years. So far as the players on defense, you know, what happens to Alabama year in and year out under Nick Saban is players oftentimes go 3 and out, especially on defense. And it takes a college game is a totally different game from high school. It takes a lot of these guys, no matter what 5-star says. I get sick of people saying, well, Alabama has all 5 stars. It doesn't always translate, just like it doesn't translate from guys going from college to the pros. They may be great college players, not oftentimes great pro players. Same thing for high school. They may be great high school players. It may not translate to college. Some guys get, some guys don't. So for people to say, okay, they expect these guys to get it right away, it doesn't always happen. But when you have the graduation rate or the attrition rate in terms of guys leaving, going pro early, especially on defense, that's what's happened to Alabama's defense. They would likely be worse, even if what's the kid, number 99? If he had gone pro.
Yeah, Raekwon Davis.
Raekwon Davis had gone pro, so they could be even worse. If Terrell Davis doesn't recover from his injury, C.J. Mosley not C.J. Mosley, but what's the kid who got hurt? Dylan Moses.
Dylan Moses.
So you can't account for that, and nobody plans these things. So I mean, I think people, if you're an Alabama fan, you should just be happy for the fact that you are always in the conversation no matter what. And unfortunately, Alabama fatigue is real, not for Alabama fans, but for the national media. You know, because, I mean, oftentimes I listen to people like Herb Streak, like the other guy, Chris Fowler, and even during the bowl games last year, I could tell there was an anti-Alabama, you know, it's seemingly, you know, during the broadcast, it was hard to listen to. But that's what happens. Just happened to the Chicago Bulls. It's going to happen. It happens to the Patriots. You know, when a team wins all the time, people get tired of the team winning, except for the team's particular fans.
Sure.
Now, so far as the playoffs, Alabama would still be in the conversation. I think they still are. I think there's a role for Alabama to get to the playoffs. However, when you take away a major star like Tua Tagovailoa, because don't think that committee and all of college football was not looking forward to, okay, if we could possibly have the matchup we wanted, which was Tagovailoa against Jalen Hurts. That was a possibility. Now, in terms of the argument, I heard you talk to one caller about, okay, whether or not Oklahoma would get the nod. At this point, Oklahoma would get the nod, not because they're a better team than Alabama, which I still don't think they are, but because they have that attraction right now. The LA story, the storybook ending of Jalen Hurts.
Ratings.
So he would make for a great story. You know, kid leaves Alabama, goes to Oklahoma. This is his first chance to win his true national championship for himself. Okay. So it's like, you know, that's what the committee will look at. So as far as looking at strength of schedules, I don't think Oregon could beat Alabama. I don't think Utah could beat Alabama. I don't think I don't even think Georgia could beat Alabama right now. And I don't think LSU could beat Alabama again on an even field. in terms of if there was a Tagovailoa available right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, a lot of things is just a lot of anti-Alabama sentiment. So far as Nick Saban running up the score and having to get, beauty points, I think that's a bunch of crock again from the media. Because you look at the level of competition you're playing. Remember, Alabama played Utah one year; they were out of the playoffs. Derrick Henry, I think, was a freshman.
Yep.
And late in the game, Nick Saban got so upset because Henry broke free on an 85-yard touchdown run or something like that. But he did not want to run the score up.
Yep.
But you can't stop talent sometimes. So for to say that they were trying to get more points before halftime to make the score attractive, that's ridiculous. And if you looked at the LSU game last night against Ole Miss, at halftime they interviewed Ed Orgeron about whether he would take out his quarterback. And Ed said, yeah, if it's 38-7, I would. But Joe Burrow played late into that game because they were never safe.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I kept looking at those stats: 714 yards of offense on LSU, 614 from Ole Miss. It's crazy.
Right, and what they're not talking about in the media either, they're not talking about how porous LSU's defense is.
Terrible. Yeah.
If they get into a track meet, if all you need against an LSU defense, like you talked about earlier, if Alabama could have got 1 or 2 stops or 2 or 3 stops on third down against LSU,
yeah,
it may have been over.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, people say, well, that was just bonus points at the end out. Tua made 2 passes in that game against LSU that let everybody know why he would have been the number 1 pick.
Oh yeah.
The first pass was that pass to Jerry Jeudy deep in the corner, that out route.
That was dirty.
It was
right.
It was
a laser. It was a pinpoint laser. Mm-hmm.
On fourth down. Then in the next one, when he threw that ball about 85 yards or whatever,
that was unbelievable. And then the one that Matt Wyatt, who does a great job breaking down film, when Tua caught LSU with the clap, and he looks to the sideline, claps it, and then he spins it on a rope. I mean, but the last touchdown, how vital was it? Because I mean, if you take that touchdown away, then it's a 12-point game as opposed to a 5-point game, right? So, I mean, that final touchdown of the season, ironically, could save Alabama. And I think it still keeps them in the playoff conversation, especially if Alabama goes to Auburn and takes care of business, which I think Alabama should certainly be able to do. I mean, Auburn has a very good defense, but their offense is not capable of keeping up with Alabama. I think if Alabama gets up and Mack Jones starts finding some sort of rhythm, or they sprinkle in a little Tua Tagovailoa, who Auburn would definitely have a tough time with just because of his ability to extend plays and play like that true freshman. I mean, there's been a freshman at Alabama that has won big games before, right? A couple years ago. His name was Tua Tagovailoa, right?
That's right.
So there's still talent in the quarterback room. Tua is...
I think they could handle Auburn at Auburn. Auburn's a tough place to play for anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I think they could handle them, but I also think this. Again, I think we get caught up in the semantics of they have to score so many points. And see, unfortunately for the fans and for the media, we're buying and selling that you got to run up the score to get the committee to look at you, when I think it really should just come down to wins and losses.
That's what I'm saying. That's because the committee, they're humans, right? They're reading this material too, and they're going to start thinking, wow, well, Alabama does have to beat Auburn by 10 points. No, they don't. They have to beat Auburn in Jordan-Hare Stadium. That's it. I don't care if it's by 1 point, 3 points, beat them, because you have that head-to-head victory, again, I'm saying it, against Oregon. And who did Auburn beat? Oregon. All right?
Oregon.
There you go. Oregon, you played your first playoff game in the beginning of the season. You did.
And if that were the case, Kyle, why would LSU be number 1 this week when they struggled? And they really did struggle. They had to score points to beat Ole Miss.
If I'm on the committee right now, I'm putting Ohio State 1, and then I'm putting LSU 2, and then I'm putting Clemson 3. And you got to put Georgia at 4, and then I'm putting Alabama 5. I'm not putting Oklahoma. I'm not putting any of those other teams above Alabama. I'm going to let Georgia dig their own grave. They survived Auburn. Now go out and beat LSU. If you beat LSU, yeah, you deserve it.
You're in.
You're in. You did it.
And they'll make the case, though. See, Alabama's right now, Kyle, Alabama's in a 5 spot, particularly for one reason, just in case. Because the committee knows, even though there's Alabama fatigue, or people say there is, they know if Alabama's in the mix, Alabama's a draw, no matter what. if they're in the mix. So they're in that just in case spot at number 5. It's more attractive with Tua, certainly, but Alabama is a brand unto itself that carries and sells.
Exactly.
So just in case we want to knock out Oregon, just in case, the only team I can see really getting the nod over them, if it's an even kind of a final vote at this point, would be Oklahoma because of Jalen Hurts.
I think so too. Because you bring up the rating factor again. Hate it or love it, people want to see Alabama win. People more than likely want to see Alabama lose, just like you said, Bama fatigue, right? So if Alabama is able to demonstrate that they can win on the road in a very tough environment, I think they can certainly get in the playoffs, especially if LSU wins out. So the playoffs are pretty simple for Alabama. LSU win out, and Alabama went out. And then I think you just, you let the cards fall where it may. I know a lot of scenarios have had Alabama taking on Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl. That's another TV rate. Can you imagine the ratings on that? I know it wouldn't be Tua versus Jalen, but you're going to have Jalen versus Nick Saban, right?
Exactly. Can Nick Saban slow down Jalen Hurts? Yeah. And I do think Alabama's defense can contain him enough for at least 3 series that Alabama could score and keep that game close and win that game. I don't think it would be a no contest game, but I also think Alabama would beat Oklahoma on an even playing field.
Yeah. No, I think Alabama would certainly have their way, just like they did last year. I went all the way down to Miami to go watch those 2 teams play, and it was over. It was pretty boring, to be honest. And then I had to wake up, catch a 4 a.m. flight all the way back to the other side of the country. So, no, I don't. The media.
Well, they got a bad draw last year. Alabama got a bad draw last year because there's no way Alabama should have been playing. Who they took in the first round? They should have been taking on Notre Dame, first of all.
Yeah, they took on Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, right.
Yeah, it was boring.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been that, Yeah. But that's what it was a way to knock Alabama out, I think. Yeah. Because there's no way they should have been playing, that team last year. You also look at the fact, too, that I want to ask you about, this is totally off the subject. I want to ask you about Joey Gatewood. I've been hearing that he may go to Kentucky. I was wondering maybe he might think Oklahoma next year because since Lincoln Riley is supposedly the quarterback whisperer. Hypothetically, what would happen if he doubled back and went to Alabama?
Yeah. It's interesting to talk about because the quarterback room is going to be so crowded at Alabama already, right? Mack Jones, as we talked about earlier. This is his big opportunity to win the quarterback job. You got Bryce Young coming in. I don't know. I think. I
just want to throw it out there hypothetically, just because no one's been talking about him, and Auburn's really in a pickle because they say there's nobody behind the quarterback they have right now. If something would have happened.
Yeah, Bo Nix, right? Yeah.
Bo Nix is a gamer though, because if you take Bo Nix in Alabama,
he's good,
and put him on. And there'd be still, you wouldn't lose a whole lot. But I really think when it's all said and done, no matter what happens in terms of Tua Tagovailoa, he's a once-in-a-lifetime talent at that position, especially for Alabama, that you won't see again.
Yeah.
The guy's been like a shooting star. And there's a part of me that thinks he may end up living out his football career through his brother. Hopefully not. Because knowing because nobody knows for sure what's going to happen except those surgeons tomorrow when he goes under the knife. Yep. And we hope for the best with Tua Tagovailoa. We hope that we can see that talent again because I think he is a generational talent. And the fact that yesterday, I think I could speak for a lot of people, it wasn't just about, a player being injured, but it was like somebody like a relative that you knew who got injured.
Yeah.
And I think you saw it all over the landscape of college football yesterday because that guy touched everybody, or he has touched everybody just being who he is.
Yeah.
And I think to a certain degree the same thing would have been if it were Jalen Hurts. Yep. But Tua Tagovailoa has just been a transcendent figure that, he is who he is. And I think it's just like if you didn't have a sad spot in your heart yesterday for that guy, then you're not human as far as I'm concerned.
No, I completely agree. Great calling, by the way. Please call again next time. I got to run to the next caller, but please call again. Such great. You and I probably talk football all day long, by the way. So,
hey man, I've been following the size since I was a kid. So
yeah. So
please
call again next time, and thanks, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Appreciate it.
All right, great show, man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you so much. All right. Yeah, that was a great call, and I appreciate it. And Ty's right. I mean, if you weren't upset yesterday seeing that young man's face, something is wrong with you. You're not human because, oh, wow, man, that was some sad, sad stuff. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
This is Mike from Huntsville. How are you doing today?
Hey, Mike. Good evening. How was your Sunday?
Sunday's was good, you know, like everybody else, a little down now with Tua, but you know how that goes.
I'm sorry. Where are you calling in from, Mike?
I'm calling from Huntsville.
Okay, Mike from Huntsville. Okay, yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk, you know, about some of the stuff that's been said, you know, like with the hip injury, you know, with Bo Jackson. When they were able to reduce it like they did, that's going to be significant. Mm-hmm. And I know we're talking about how the possibility, you know, that he might never play again, but I honestly believe that with what they're doing for him, that 4 to 6 months, I think he'll have a full recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this team, like you said, you know, they can do a lot of good things with Mack, especially with all the talent that they have.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, number one, you know, we're just gonna have to wait and see regarding Tua Tagovailoa and the fact, you know, that he has a long road to recovery. It's gonna be a grind. You know, it's gonna be something that him and his family are going to have to rally around him, which they will do. I mean, they're a family of faith, and I really like how they demonstrate, you know, just the care for one another. It's really great to see. And just as Ty from Pittsburgh was saying, I mean, it was like the whole world of college football was sad yesterday. Like I was even in a funk, like coming home and just, you know, went right to bed, wasn't really feeling it. It's sad. You know, it was sad. No matter who you pull for, that's just sad. And it would have been the same case for, you know, a lot of guys out there that represent themselves well. I think this team can certainly beat Auburn. I think they can rally around Mack Jones, and Mack Jones has to come out and believe in himself. And I think he should have a lot of confidence because look at who's behind him in the backfield. Najee Harris, who's playing incredible, right? Look who he has the outside. Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. The offensive line has been playing great for the most part. You know, the defense, I mean, Alabama's defense hasn't been the best this year, but you know, you can still get an effective pass rush, and I think they can beat Auburn in Jordan-Hare with Bo Nix at quarterback. I think Mack Jones can outduel the freshman, and Alabama's going to end the regular season, with only one loss, in my opinion.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that. I mean, you talk about with Najee, and I like how you brought up with Jalen Waddle. I mean, we definitely got to get Jalen Waddle the ball 10 to 15 times. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's getting him in the open field, and Mack, if he can just get the ball out to these receivers in the open field, which I know he can, I mean, that's going to be vital. And you're right about the defense, but there's also another guy too I'd like to see. I think could be a playmaker is Keelan Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see him in the game a little bit more.
Yeah, as Nick Saban said, you know, he's got the juice, and we've seen that juice. And I think the way that he hits the hole is pretty incredible because you look at these bigger backs, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, guys who are 230 pounds, completely jacked, and then you look at Keelan Robinson, who's 170 pounds, if that, and the way he probably hits the hole harder than those running backs. It's interesting to see, but he flies out like a cannon, and he's got some quick hand speed. So maybe they'll have him in the process, but I think just the way that Najee's playing right now, compared to the beginning of the season, remember, let's rewind to the beginning of the season. How many of us were frustrated with Najee Harris's play? And Brian Robinson, we're like, what's going on with these guys? They were like puttering around in the backfield. You're like, man, come on, let's see who else there is in the running back position. And now you have Najee Harris, and I think he's playing at just such a high level. This is the perfect time for him just to have the Najee Harris takeover, right?
Oh, no, I totally agree with you. He's been, like I said, he's been seeing the hole a lot better and hitting it instead of, you know, I mean, every now and then he wants to try to do some of his juke backboard, and he hits it and makes those cuts. And the way he comes out receiving, I mean, that's such a weapon.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. Very good point is the fact that he can catch the football so well out of the backfield. And I think when you look at his draft stock moving forward, that's going to be something that NFL scouts certainly like because he can catch the football out of the backfield on the checkdowns, and he can make you miss. And just playing at an incredible level. 4 touchdowns. I believe he scored 10 touchdowns over the last 3 games. I have to double
Oh
check.
yeah,
that.
and if you go back to the game yesterday, that first run he had, the boy's got a burst.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
yeah.
you look at him and you go, okay, you know, he can't make that breakaway speed, but sometimes he can hit that burst, and he did it on that sideline there.
Yeah, he's playing at a great level. Sometimes I kind of, I'm wondering about Brian Robinson because he hasn't seemed as explosive as I expected him to be.
You made a great point about him a while back, and he did it when he cut off on that run. Instead of cutting it back, he seems to want to drift out of bounds a little bit.
Yeah, I think he just needs to put his head down and start running over people. I mean, he's a big boy, and maybe he'll come around towards the later part of the season. There's been some good splashes because I thought at times against Mississippi State he did well, but overall I just thought that he'd be peaking at a higher performance right now at this part of the season.
Yeah, and I was going to tell you that. I've been an Alabama fan, for 30-something years, and since Tiffin kicked in 1985, I've been watching as a kid. I know everything about Alabama football, and I love it. And, I look at some of the things that we're doing, like right now with our defense. Yeah, we're young, but I'm telling you, in the next year or two, and especially with Bryce Young, I didn't mean to jump off topic there, but yeah. I've been watching film like you. That kid is incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, he can spin it, and he has a great ability not only to extend plays, but the pinpoint accuracy and the lasers that he has on some of his throws at the high school level.
He's got a live arm. He's got a live arm.
Yeah, and he can throw it downfield. So I think, like I've been saying, he's coming in not expecting to redshirt. He's coming in to win the starting job next season. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. He's definitely going to push them, and like you talk about with the transfers, somebody's going to end up probably leaving. And you made a great. You made some great points about. I got off topic on that, but you made some great points earlier, and I wanted to tell you that I appreciated it because I did hear something that you said where you went back. I was a little not upset with you. It was just, everybody blaming Saban for that. I mean, I've been watching enough football. Tua was good enough to play. Mm-hmm. He's going to play in that first half. He's going to play that series, and usually he'll come out for the third quarter, play a series, and he's done.
Yeah.
That's just, and we needed him to get live. I mean, we watched in that LSU game where he'd been out for 3 weeks. We didn't really start seeing Tua get going until that third and fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the one caller earlier talking about it. I hate when I hear people, because I've been hearing it too, for the past 24 hours, that Saban doesn't care about his players and all this other stuff. I think it's just horse. I'm not going to curse on your thing. It's just bull.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I'm at the Malmore facility every single day. I mean, I've got an incredible chance to, be around Nick Saban for these last 3 years from a media perspective. And one thing that he holds to the highest value is his players, and his player safety. And I don't think that he would put any of his players in jeopardy. I think, if the medical staff and Jeff Allen feel that these guys can go out and compete, then they're going to do it. And these guys are competitors. You play to participate in the game, right? And you practice, and they got a careful eye on these guys. And if Nick Saban knew that Tua was, in any way, shape, or form going to be injured, he wouldn't have played him. I mean, we were looking at his ankle injury. There's no way that we could have foreseen the terrible injury that he would have suffered. I mean, that was that was just a freak accident. I mean, like I said a while ago, I mean, how many times do you hear these of hip injuries in college football? I mean, this isn't normal what happened to Tua yesterday. This is a horrible injury that he suffered.
Yeah, there was an orthopedic surgeon. I think he's with San Francisco. I can't say his name. He was talking about it. He goes, you see it very rarely in this, and but it does happen. But it's like you said, it's usually in some type of car wreck or something dramatic like that.
Oh man, well, yeah, it's rough. So, anything else while you're on the show, buddy?
No, I just wanted to tell you I appreciate you. I appreciate your comments. going back, you understanding and kind of, not just being one-sided like some of the media people are and saying, oh, it's just one way. You sat back and you actually took a look at everything and, you came up with a good analysis of, not saying that your opinion totally changed, but it was good to hear, somebody, because everybody else, they stick to the same platform and they're going to stick to whatever they think is popular.
I appreciate that. And I think one of the things that I've learned, especially as I continue to move forward in my life, is, you're not always right. And at least give it 24, 48 hours to make, a decision and speak with other people and read other people's opinion. And I think that's important that we all do that about all things in life, right? Because there's so many times that we just feel we're just such, one-sided. But if you talk to other people and you read other people's perception about things, it really helps you come up with a better process to formulate a better opinion. So that's something that I did, and it's something that I try to do. So I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. But I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much, and please call again next time.
Yeah, well, one last thing. You're right, Najee, and let's get Waddle that ball out in the open. I like to see some of that magic.
Yeah, no doubt. He's certainly electrifying when he has a football. I appreciate the call. Good stuff.
All right, you have a good day.
All right, take it easy. All right, fam. I think that's good for the night. I need to get some Z's. I got a big week. So here's a schedule for this coming week. You got Nick Saban's press conference. That'll be Monday. I'll bring it right here on BamaInsider.com. You also get practice highlights on Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday you'll get Nick Saban again in the afternoon along with some practice highlights. And then Thursday night I'll be coming to you from Voodoo Wings in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Friday and Saturday, we'll prep for Western Carolina, and then you can catch all the coverage all the time at BamaInsider.com. Hey, look, I know you get me on YouTube all the time, and I appreciate all the support, but I would really appreciate it if you gave us a opportunity to earn your business at BamaInsider.com. We got a great promotion going on right now. Look for all the sign-up tabs. You can get free gear when you sign up. Give us an opportunity. You can catch up with me on the message boards. You can hit me up with customer support questions. My email, write it down, Kyle@BamaInsider.com. You can also follow me, Rivals_Kyle. Be good people out there. As I always say, I really appreciate the men and service women who protect our freedoms in this great country. Fantastic, job that you do for us. I mean, I'm always grateful, and it's something that we preach here in my house, is certainly that, we respect the men and women protecting our freedoms. Very important. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, is Kyle Henderson. Prayers up to Tua Tagovailoa and his family. Will push forward. Alabama takes on Western Carolina this coming weekend. Have a good night. I'll catch up with you soon.